I've checked all the sites in Newcastle and all the major contractors, and there's been no work stoppage today whatsoever, either due to award campaigns or inclement weather. Now, I believe at some stage last week it was the intention that today was to have been a national stoppage, but I believe that situation has been watered down, and it's good news to think that the men on site have been given the opportunity to consider their own position. And this is what has occurred in Newcastle today. There's been no stoppage whatsoever on any of our major commercial sites.
Do you see this whole thing as a bit of a rift in the building union movement?
Oh, rather that it's a recognition of the current climate. It's never happened this way before, but I believe it's a good thing for the industry that other people are being concerned and that people are being given the opportunity to determine whether or not they will subscribe to the loss of wages.
National soccer team standing coach Frank Arrock's plans for a weekend mini-tournament have been dashed because one of the proposed venues in Gosford is in a poor condition. Arrock confirmed early yesterday that the tournament, involving St George, Marconi, Newcastle United and a composite interstate team of national squad players, would go ahead on Saturday in Newcastle and on Sunday in Gosford. But officials in Gosford say the Graham Reserve is in a terrible condition. He says the field is saturated and local teams are scheduled to play on it this week before a local rugby league competition match is held on Saturday. In place of the proposed four-match tournament, St George will now play Newcastle United in Newcastle on Saturday. Hollis Stacey has won the LPGA golf tournament in the United States. Here's how she did it.
Just how tough this course is was proven by the fact that even with ideal weather conditions, only 3 players began the final round below par. One was Hollis Stacey, who started the day 4 under, 2 shots ahead of Jan Stevenson and Kathy Whitworth. Stacey played a conservative round and stayed at 4 under through 16. But while Whitworth, who won here last year, and Stevenson, who won here in '78, began to fall out of contention, out of nowhere came Beth Daniel. Daniel, 6 shots back at one time of the day, finished with a 3 under par 69. And with Stacey on 17, was only 2 back. Stacey then bogeyed 17, leaving Daniel only 1 shot behind. And when Stacey's 3rd shot on 18 landed 5 feet short, sudden death seemed a real possibility. The Hilton Head resident then stepped up to attempt the putt, but backed off.
You always practice those 5-footers left to right for a tournament, and I happen to have one, and I just got a little nervous. And the worst thing you can do is hit a putt when you don't feel good. And I backed away, and I did learn from experience.
The experience paid off as Hollis hit the 5-footer to finish 1 shot ahead of Daniel for her 2nd straight LPGA win.
Controversial footballer George Best has reportedly threatened to give up playing charity matches after a row over his expenses. The Daily Express newspaper in London reports Best recently received $1,335 Australian for a game in Torquay, Devon, in aid of a young widow of a local footballer. She reportedly received $445. But Best manager Bill McMurdo says George is seriously considering stopping playing charity matches if it means only adverse publicity. Mr McMurdo says Best received no fee at all, and the money was for the expenses of the entire party of 12 to 14 people. Best, who recently declared himself bankrupt, last weekend again had his comeback with 3rd Division Bournemouth interrupted when he failed to appear for the club in 2 matches. Now for a report on the Sheetha and Merrigan City and Suburban Cricket Association presentation night, here's Sharon Hay.
And you can dance the rest of the night
It
away.
was Newcastle Cricket's Night of Nights, the 62nd annual presentation night for what is not only this region's, but Australia's and in fact the world's biggest cricket competition. The Newcastle City and Suburban Cricket Association is a massive organisation. It's made up of 24 divisions, 132 clubs, 192 teams and more than 3,500 players. And organisers say the competition is still growing. This year's most successful club is without a doubt the Newcastle Technical College. Last night the club took out 8 awards, among them the Win Opie Trophy for scoring the highest number of points, the Joint Coalboard Trophy for being the top multiple team club, the A-grade side was named Team of the Year, and the club was awarded the prestigious Sheetha and Merrigan Premiership.
Thanks very much.
At last night's meeting, the council agreed to adhere to its original deal with Kearns. The agreed purchase price of $7 million will be paid by Kearns, with a down payment of $3 million and the remaining met in 6 monthly instalments over 4 years. Kearns' final development plans for the site have been altered to include a minimum of 830 dwelling houses. It will also include industrial sites, which are expected to generate 5,000 jobs. Even though Kearns and the council managed to reach agreement tonight, there are still a number of problems in the way, including the green bans at Waratah. Will the Trades Hall Council consider lifting them?
I think that if it is a condition by which would prevent Kearns Corporation and the council getting agreement, then obviously we would have a second look at it. I believe that the building unions, who have the responsibility for the retention of the bans, would want to re-examine their position in light of these new developments.
This is the new Hunter Neonatal Transport Service, which is basically the same as a humidity crib in an intensive care hospital, except that it's portable and can be installed in an ambulance within minutes. It acts as an intensive...
In your football scene for many, many days at Lyle Peacock Oval today, Metropolitan in the red jerseys ran out easy winners over Southern by the tune of 38 points to 16. Stephen Robinson, the 5'8" for Metropolitan, scored 2 tries, as did Ray Coleman, who played on the wing, and David Burns, Glenn Kane and Jeff Hardy all scored a try each. Brett Landers, the son of famous Eastern Suburbs player Bob Landers, kicked 5 goals. For the Southern Division boys, Jamie McDonald, John Howarth and Jason Moon each scored a try, with Howarth and Moon outstanding in their team's contribution. In the other match today, Northern in the green defeated Western in the yellow to the tune of 24 points to 10. David Pensini, playing in the centres, scored 2 tries, Ian Pedersen scored 1 and John Frame scored a try also. Jason Alchin and Darren Smith from Newcastle both put in very, very good games indeed. For Western, Burns scored a try, Naden scored a try and Shaw kicked a goal. And the 2 players that shone out for Western were Naden and Merritt.
This is the new Hunter Neonatal Transport Service, which is basically the same as a humidity crib in an intensive care hospital, except that it's portable and can be installed in an ambulance within minutes. It acts as an intensive care unit for babies who have to be transported from district hospitals to Newcastle for specialised care. Up until now there's been some risk, but this unit, donated by the Toronto Lions Club, will help doctors apply intensive care en route.
By having a mobile intensive care unit such as this, we can provide intensive care as soon as the paediatrician or the intensivist arrives at the hospital where the baby is or has been delivered. And we can stabilise the baby and we can bring him back relatively slowly and safely, having all the treatment that we can offer him here, but starting 2 or 3 hours earlier. And because we can start it earlier, we can shorten the duration of the baby's illness, and we can also decrease the severity of the illness as a whole.
Thanks, John. Good morning. Another chilly morning. Nice blue clear skies. A nice sunny day coming up. And around the beaches this morning we have some small waves for the board riders. Since the low pressure system has moved away to the southeast from Bass Strait now, there's not much likelihood that our swell is going to get all that much bigger. At the moment we have waves around 1 metre at all of the open beaches in town, and at this time of the morning the wind is blowing offshore from the west, although it is predicted to move around to the southwest or even southeast along the coast later in the day. For the board riders, good quality waves, while the tide's a little bit low. As the tide starts to come in very much later this morning, conditions will deteriorate a little. By then, I would expect that the wind will come around and make conditions choppy anyway. If you'd like to go for a swim, all of our city beaches are quite safe. And now our forecast, as issued by the Bureau this morning. A cold morning with areas of fog inland. A cool to mild and mainly sunny day to follow. Southwest to southeasterly winds at 10 to 24 knots or 10 to 24 kilometres on the coast. Seas slight on a mainly low swell. Newcastle heading for a top today of 23 degrees, Scone expecting 21. Low tide will be at 9:56 this morning at 0.6 of a metre, and the next high tide at 4:13 this afternoon, 1.3 metres. And the outlook for Saturday is for similar conditions. So it would appear that we're going to at least get one nice fine day over the weekend. Tomorrow should be mainly fine, sunny, a nice day for the beach. The waves for the board riders a little smaller than expected, around the 1 metre mark at all of the open beaches, but that wind offshore and the wave quality quite good. Have a great day whatever you're doing, and we'll be back again on Monday morning.
My responsibility. 350 concerned health workers and members of the public attended the meeting. They were resolute in their opposition to recommendations which would abolish mental retardation nursing, close down some institutions and relocate developmentally disabled and psychiatrically ill patients into community-based hostels. Representatives from Stockton Hospital, Morisset Hospital, Allendale and Hunter Hospitals, as well as union delegates from the Health and Research Employees Association and the Nurses Association, gave their views on why the report must be quashed. The health workers say the report is merely a cost-cutting exercise, with no real regard for patient or staff welfare. For those reasons, the meeting endorsed the following motions, which were put to a similar meeting in Sydney on Wednesday. They are that a Royal Commission, with prior consultation with unions to set out the terms of reference, be conducted into the state's mental health system, that the Premier and Minister for Health meet with representatives from the Labor Council and health unions to discuss the report as a matter of urgency, that a joint government and health unions committee organise a seminar to debate the important issues in the report, that the unions continue their opposition to the report, and that the government provide funds to individual hospitals for patients to be placed in community hostels which would be manned by 5th schedule hospital nurses on a trial basis. But are health workers compromising their stand against the report by endorsing a trial? General Secretary of the New South Wales Nurses Association, Jenny Haynes.
No, I don't think we're compromising our stand whatsoever. I think that community placement programs have been going on in institutions or from institutions over a number of years, and all that we are saying in that resolution that was passed in the meeting is endorsing what has already been taking place.
Well-known Newcastle conductor Ulrich Burstein will lead an 80-voice choir and a 40-piece orchestra in tonight's concert at Christchurch Cathedral. The Newcastle City Choir was hard at practice today, joined by the Sydney Chamber Ensemble and other instrumentalists from Brisbane, Canberra and Newcastle. The occasion was organised to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the birth of Johann Brahms and will feature Brahms' Alto Rhapsody and a German Requiem. Here's a sample of what you can expect tonight.
The scene is Cessnock on a bright sunny day too, and I guess the start of maybe the fulfilment of a dream for local winemaker Murray Tyrrell. Murray has the idea, and it's a great one, that Hunter Valley should have a sports promotions officer. In fact, local Cessnock Rugby League coach Neil Pringle is currently fulfilling that position. To finance this matter, Murray is getting involved with business people, including the coal industry here in the Hunter Valley. The start of this dream is perhaps this coaching clinic here today at the Cessnock Police Boys Club. With more details of what they're trying to achieve, National Coaching Director of Rugby League for Australia, Peter Corcoran. Peter, what are the aims of this coaching clinic?
First and foremost, Lee, it's to get across the skills of the game, a greater knowledge of the skills, so that a boy can go out there on the football field and get great satisfaction and enjoyment out of what he does.
Well, that's what it's all about, enjoyment, isn't it?
Of course it is. It's absolutely essential that a person not only performs well, but he enjoys what he's doing.
Two such players here that obviously enjoy playing football, even though they play it professionally, and it's great to have them here. Wayne Pearce, a sensation, the Balmain skipper on the Kangaroo Tour.
An absolutely marvellous player, Lee. He's got all the skills of the game. He's got so much dedication, commitment. He gives such a tremendously all-round effort in everything he does. He literally oozes rugby league.
One player that doesn't need probably as much introduction as Wayne Pearce, although Wayne is now well known to everybody, is a legend in the game, I think, Steve Rogers.
I think Steve is one of the legends of the game. We had our champions of champions a while back. I think Steve ranks with them. He's one of Australia's all-time great centres. He's a tremendously great all-round player. He has every skill, as Wayne does, and he again gives all that commitment, that dedication that really makes the rugby league player.
At Adamstown Rosebud today, 95 boys lined up to take part in the Coca-Cola Soccer Coaching Clinic, and they were receiving expert advice from the Newcastle KB United stars, which included David Lowe, the prolific goal scorer, and Ralph Mayo, the very strong defender, both of whom will be representing Australia in the youth team when they take part in the World Youth Championship finals. KB's coach Ken Kaiser is heading the clinic, which involves ball skills, techniques and attitude, and the sessions are being supplemented with films. The tremendous interest has been shown by the Shortland RSL Club, who have sent 22 boys to the clinic at the club's expense of $1,300. Another big week of coaching is happening at the Newcastle Sports Entertainment Centre, where the Falcons are holding classes for junior basketballers. Well over 150 boys and girls are attending the week-long clinics, with coaches Ian Davies, Dave Ankeny, Dennis Kibble, George Morrow and many other stars giving the children the finer points of the game. Again, the basic fundamentals are being taught, and if this morning's session was any indication, there are a number of Falcons of the future making good use of the advice being offered by some of Australia's leading players. After so long on the water, 31-year-old John Toe was apparently in no hurry to finish. He could have entered Newport several hours earlier, but chose to wait for daylight and good weather. He said he had always finished races at night and in poor conditions. 10 minutes before he finished, the wind shifted, the fog cleared, and an armada of small craft saw John Toe to his victory. His winning boat was the 17-metre cutter, Credit Agricole.
Mr. Cole Rogers, General Manager of NIB, says he supports the introduction of gap insurance, a move to allow private funds to insure for the 15% of the medical benefits schedule fee not covered by the government's 85% benefit. How important is gap insurance to private funds?
Most of our members, probably something about 60%, of the order of 60% of members, do have 100% medical cover at the moment, so that I view it as important from that point of view, and indeed I think the VHIAA has the same view on behalf of its member funds.
It's believed the federal government will not agree to this new scheme because of the ALP's health policy, which rules out private funds providing medical insurance, but it was allowed once before. Are private funds hopeful of it happening again?
We are hopeful. They did allow gap insurance in 1975 in the previous Medibank scheme, and we're supportive, naturally enough, of the VHIAA recommendations to the government.